My day job is to be an economist at the Agriculture Department. I'm also the chairman of the Arlington Community Services Board that has responsibility for the county's programs for people with mental disabilities, including intellectual disabilities, mental illness, and substance abuse. It's really wonderful to see some of these kids with intellectual disabilities grow up and kind of take their place in the community. I came to Arlington when I was first married. We were married right out of college, and we've lived in Arlington ever since. My daughter was born in 1985, and my son Patrick was born in 1987. Patrick's actually a very placid, easy baby in comparison to our daughter, who was kind of colicky and nervous and high-strung. But he was, you know, a pleasant, smiling little guy. I think we probably had fairly conventional expectations. We wanted to continue with our careers and raise our children, and I think everyone has high expectations for their children. In the first few years, Patrick developed very normally. He sat at 6 or 7 months. He walked at 11 or 12 months. He spoke his first few words. He played normally. And then between his second and third birthday, we really began to notice that the speech was not developing. He began to have obsessive interests. He was very obsessed with letters. And he would say the letter C, the letter B, and he would sit and do this for hours, and you could just see him sort of retreating into himself. We took him to a developmental pediatrician who did a full-blown workup and diagnosed his autism. I knew very little about autism. It was very frightening at first, and I think we and other parents who go through this, you know, it's a loss, and I think you feel, you know, something of similar to the stages of grief, you know, anger, guilt, denial, all of those emotions coming over you at once. We had different expectations about the future, and you know, there was a lot of just fear of the unknown. I was worried not only about how we were going to deal with sort of the immediate things that we needed to do, but also about kind of long-term, you know, what Patrick's future would be and what our future would be with Patrick. My husband and I were very much on the same page, and we were lucky in that regard. I know other families where that hasn't been the case, and sometimes it causes, you know, can cause friction in a marriage. In terms of the way this affected my daughter, it was very difficult to explain to her what was happening to Patrick, and I think that made it hard for her because he didn't respond to her either, just as he wasn't responding to anyone else, and I think she felt rejected by that. There was a long learning curve. It isn't something you can understand just by observing. It requires training and education in order to really figure out what's going on. In the middle school years, I began to focus on what would happen to Patrick when he became an adult. And at that time, I and some other parents founded a group in Arlington called CPAS, which stands for Concerned Parents for Arlington Adult Services. And it was a network of parents who were interested in looking ahead and educating themselves about what resources were going to be there when their kids became adults. Patrick's autism is at the severe end of the disorder. He needs help with most of the activities of daily living.
Patrick doesn't really like dogs or babies. That's one reason he wears the headphones. He doesn't like sudden, loud noises. So the phones headphones just reduce the noise. He can still hear through them.
My husband actually is very actively involved with Patrick, probably, on a day-to-day level more than I am. Maybe because, they go out and do kind of guy things, and neither one of them likes to talk very much. And when my daughter's not here, I'm the only one in the house that talks.
I mean, he knows who I am, if you ask. But he's not really good at initiating conversation like a lot of men in my life.
My daughter, now that she's grown up, is much more engaged with Patrick. She has a much deeper and more nuanced understanding of the situation, and she's concerned about him.
So, Mom, how's Patrick doing?
Generally, I think he's doing pretty well. He's been sleeping. We went through a couple of weeks where he really slept a full night, only 1 out of every 3 nights. Mm-hmm. But then this last week, he's been fine. So, I don't know, and I often don't know, what the issue is. He brings the things back to the table. We have a fairly structured life as a result of trying to meet his needs. When Patrick's happy, there's no happiness like what you see with him. The things that he enjoys, he really enjoys. We're able to teach him to unload the dishwasher, and that's actually a big help because I can be doing something else in the kitchen. And the problem is that he's so enamored of putting the dishes away that he'll put the dirty dishes away too if you leave them on the counter. So sometimes you open up the cabinet and you take out the plate and you see that it's still got last night's spaghetti in it. But it's the kind of thing that makes us laugh. All parents of children with developmental disabilities are very concerned about what's going to happen to their children when they're no longer able to take care of them. That's a big issue, and it keeps people awake at night.
It works this way in the adult side, but we don't have that.
Employment for adults with mental health. We have a big initiative for children's mental health issues. The county does something which is not done very many other places in Virginia, which is it guarantees that kids with intellectual disabilities coming out of the school system will have a vocational or a day placement. Patrick works at MVLE, and he does mailroom work. It's a good environment for him. It provides structure and engagement, and he's gotten a lot of good support there. School and county support for transition from the school system to adulthood has improved quite a bit as a result of advocacy. Well, I became an advocate because there are always things that need to be changed to make life better, not only for Patrick, but also for other children and adults with special needs.
Bye. Look.